I felt my stomach drop, like I couldn't breathe, like my veins were ice cold, like somebody was grabbing my hand. It was all just very tactile, very real. Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. And is this this is still a good time, right? I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
hopefully. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're fine there in your car, just kind of hanging out. I don't. Okay.
Yeah. I'm parked in front of my house, so it's okay.
I started this channel some time ago, just kind of to talk about weird, unusual, and mysterious things. And it kind of started out where I was doing more kind of ghost stories, and I was kind of honing my craft, kind of making videos. But then along the, I don't know if you've had a chance to check out the channel, but one of my friends had been telling me there was a mutual friend of ours, and he had been telling me, hey, you should really talk to him because he's had some very strange experiences out in the wilderness of North Carolina. And I was kind of like, well, I've never done anything like that, but I kind of figured out how to do it and got on a call with him like this and just recorded it. And then I figured, I'm on to something. So that's kind of what I've been doing ever since. I've been kind of talking to people, and the episodes I've done since have kind of been just getting to know, really kind of getting to know people more. But in getting to know people, it's been, hey, what are these strange experiences you've had? And I think that makes the conversations and the episodes and the experiences a bit more compelling. So that was a long ramble, but I know we don't know each other at all, but I just figured I would kind of let you know who I am and kind of what I do.
I appreciate that. And now I have a question for you because I am curious.
Sure.
Have you ever had a paranormal experience, and what sort of led you to this I wouldn't say obsession, but into this interest?
No, yeah, this is a good back and forth. I love it. The most unique thing I can remember happening was I was a little kid. I was probably in 4th or 5th grade, and I can remember I was with my best friend, who's still my best friend to this day. I haven't talked to him in a few years, but he's one of those guys, like a best friend. But like, we were running around one evening at our school, and we were just kind of playing, doing what kids do. I think we were fighting like fake ninjas or something like that. Yeah. And I turned to my left, and I could see 3 distinct white figures kind of standing 30 feet away. I mean, they weren't terribly far away, but they were close enough to where I could kind of like, whoa, and it was there in an instant, and I looked at them for a good 3, 4, 5 seconds, and then I turned. It was enough for me to turn and say, hey, look at this. And then I turned, and of course they're gone. And it was interesting because it was under like a street light. There was a street light that was in the middle of this field, and we were in front of the school, and it was right under the light, and I could kind of make out fabric, and but the figures were like all white, and they were each kind of, 2 were sort of in the foreground, and then 1 was closer to me. We kind of run over there and look around, and then I could see 3 figures way off in the corner of the field, and they were like dark figures then, and I knew I could see that. That's the only thing I've had happen, but in addition to that, like I grew up in the South, so my mother's had strange things happen, and my grandmother, when my uncle passed away in the late 80s, she would tell stories in their old Southern house about how they could hear, footsteps like upstairs in the room and stuff. So I've kind of like been around it, but nothing. I wouldn't say I'm terribly sensitive or anything. Like I can't see anything. If there could be something around me right now, and I'd just be like oblivious. So so it's more like an interest, just that I've had since I was a little kid, I guess. So
wow, that's pretty interesting.
Your name is Winnie, correct?
Yes.
Winnie. Okay, great. Just like the Wonder Years. Do you get that a lot?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sure you did. had you had an interest in the paranormal or scary things before your experience, or what was that like for you?
Yes and no. I've always had an interest in it. I was told when I was a child I had seen a few things and I had commented it to my family members. But my family is very Catholic, so they decided we're going to acknowledge it, but we're going to push it aside and we're not going to talk about it anymore. And that led me to become kind of like a non-believer, and I used to make fun of people. Like, I had a friend at school that said that she had seen a dead relative. And I was making fun of her. I was like 8 years old or something. So it led me to this really ignorant mindset that things don't happen. It's all in your head. You're seeing things. So I think that mindset throughout my life, even though I had an interest in it, I think that has helped protect me. Like, if I've ever been around something, I'm not going to notice it because I'm going to gaslight myself and say, no way, you're not seeing anything.
Sure.
That floating hand doesn't exist, or whatever it might be.
It's interesting with things like strange and unusual occurrences in the paranormal. Like, in a court of law, we'll instantly look at eyewitness testimony as credible, and okay, it was a witness, okay, great, and but if somebody is witness to something that's strange, it's like, okay, well, it's instantly,
it's where's the proof? It's where's the pictures, the video?
yeah, and for things that we cannot explain, who knows? A lot of the times, it's who knows what they are, but it's simply things that you can't explain. But people see things they can't explain all the time, be it not long ago, I was actually just watching this. There was another Bigfoot sighting. It was actually just recently, and it was pretty good
detail.
Video, from the phones we have now, which are really good. But and it was from a train. People were taking this video from a train, and it was from a few months ago, and it was kind of your classic, it was kind of far away, but still, it's like, well, a lot of people witnessed that, but you don't hear about it. It's obviously not reported. It's just okay. And I've always thought that was interesting. It's like, well, you'd figure this would be around quite a lot, but it's just one of those things. I think we do a good job as a culture of kind of just keeping those things. We can't explain it, so we're just not going to talk about it. Just pack it away.
Yep.
And I don't know. I don't like to do that. I like to kind of talk about it because it's fun, not because I obsess or not because it's got to be a conspiracy. It's just, I think it's fun to sort of dive into those things.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of other cultures too. I know, like in Japanese cultures, they respect and acknowledge deities and spirits of sorts. I know a lot of Latinos practice Day of the Dead, and that's apparently the only time that, because I'm Latino, so that's apparently the only time that we acknowledge spirits.
Right.
But it's just it's very strange how, I guess, more modern, the more we move towards a modern culture, we just kind of ignore these things because we can't explain them. And we're also not going to dedicate our times to create, like, it'd be nice to create some kind of lens where we can see, like, infrared lenses. I mean, but they always get, it's not true, and there could be a glitch, it could be a bug, there's no way. I don't know what other technology we can invent to, because it's like a different dimension at this point, and it's very, very slowly trickling into ours. I don't know what kind of device we could make to fully 100% prove it. And even then, are people still going to believe it? Or, it's a very complex situation.
You think back to like the 40s with Roswell, like at that time there were, it was very isolated. Even back then with how the technology was, we're talking like UFOs, but that's still obviously a strange phenomena. But even back then, there were lots of sightings and lots of pictures with the rudimentary technology that we had. But now there's just so much more. And people are talking about it more. You can go online and see, purported ghost photos or videos or UFO sightings, and let's say even if 90% of them are fake, like 10% are real. Wow, that's pretty interesting. But I think like the the advent of newer technology has maybe expanded what we can comprehend, but I do think a lot of it's probably going to be maybe in that faith vein, because we're probably never really going to be able to comprehend or perceive what it is, if it is like on another plane. Probably where we are, it's just we're probably going to be in this forever period of we're going to be pretty ignorant about it, and but we'll have some who are sensitive. I think I do think that there are some who can perceive it and some who can't, and I think I'm just one of those that can't.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm one of those too. So
yeah, my mother, well, not my mother. My mother's like seen and heard things before, like, in her bedroom shortly after her father died. But my stepfather has kind of seen things, but I think he kind of suppresses it a little bit, and he's talked about it a little bit, but that's interesting. He'll kind of see things out of the corner of his eye, and it's not anything very explicit, but it's like, oh, I saw something, and, it's so, but I think some people kind of have the ability, but they don't really maybe nurture it, and then it just kind of doesn't develop, but
absolutely.
Anyway, I'm a firm believer in that stuff. Even if I don't do it myself, I'm just like, hey, it's certainly
it's there.
So yeah, I would agree with that. So stepping back even further, you want to, I mean, as much as you'd like to share, you want to just tell us a little bit about kind of who you are and what you do. I know you said you're on Pacific time, so are you on the other side of the country, or?
Yes, I'm in the West Coast.
West Coast, okay.
Yeah. I'm kind of a hobbyist.
Good.
Jack of all trades, master of none. I do enjoy a lot of different career paths, and I enjoy meeting new people and talking to them every day. That exposure, that interaction, I thrive off of that. So just a lot of talking to others and getting to know them. And I've been able to hear a lot of different experiences in my life and take that into consideration. And it's helped me keep an open mind to
Excellent.
everything.
What was kind of the catalyst for, putting your experience out there?
So I've always been a big scaredy cat for ghosts and ghost type things. So my little brother for Christmas, and this is going to sound really stupid, but he got me Luigi's Mansion 3 as a video game. And I was super, super stoked. But to be honest, any type of horror game that I played, I mean, this isn't really horror, right? But mainly like Silent Hill or things like that. I've never been able to finish because I get really spooked. So I started playing this game, and I noticed that the developers started making things move in the background very subtly and out of frame, so that when I would come back, things weren't how they were supposed to be. And that started reminding me of my own experience. And I remember telling my brother, I was like, I don't know if I can play this. I have to play it like in the daytime. I can't play it at night alone, because I'm just going to start thinking about like those past experiences or experiences I've shared with other people or I've learned from other people with ghosts. And people are like, oh, it's just a game. It's just a story. It's not real. But when you've lived through it, it's like kind of like PTSD. Especially like that part when like I was sitting on the gurney and it moved.
Yeah.
I felt my stomach drop. Like I couldn't breathe. Like my veins were ice cold. Like somebody was grabbing my hand. It was all just very tactile, very real. So when I play stupid games like this, or even, this is why I don't like watching horror movies after this, because I just like, I've lived it. So I start to think about it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so scary. Whereas my boyfriend, complete opposite. He's like, he really wants to go to a cemetery because he really wants to see and believe and experience something.
Right.
And I have to tell him, I was like, once you experience it and experience like true terror, not like, oh, something's moving or something's floating. When you experience true terror, you never want to go back there. And my mom, when she was younger, she grew up in Mexico. And there is this museum. I can't remember the name of it, unfortunately. But I'm pretty sure you can look it up. It's in a palace, and it used to be an orphanage. And so when she went on a school trip, I think in the 70s or 80s, she remembers, and she tells me vividly that the first time she experienced this true terror was when a table just flew across the room, and the whole class, teacher, everybody evacuated. They were not messing with that. There was stuff flying everywhere.
Wow.
Now it's a fine arts museum, and there's reported less activity, but there's still activity in this museum. And after this, I think I can look it up and ask her, and send you the link to that, because there's also tons and tons of stories with that, as well as the main hospital in one of the major cities. Apparently there's a nurse that if somebody's close to death, she'll go visit them and comfort them in their last hours. Or if they're like gonna make a turnaround, she'll like nurse them back to health. So there's like a lot of ghost stories in our country about this kind of stuff. And yeah, so it prompted me, like, playing this game, stupid little game. I just started laughing. I said, you know what? I said, I really want to hear other people's ghost stories. So in some of my Facebook groups, I posted the same story, and I asked, can you guys tell me yours? Because especially I know there's certain parts of the country in different countries that are like hotbeds of energy. And the South is one of them. Louisiana, North Carolina, Georgia, all of those, especially the plantation homes, tons and tons of energy. So
I'm from South Carolina, so we have you're absolutely right. We have lots of areas that are notoriously haunted. So
yeah, it's something that certain parts of the world you can't escape, and whereas more on the West Coast in Washington, California, Nevada, there's more Bigfoot sightings because of like Yosemite Natural Forest and stuff like that. Like, it's all geographical. And I like hearing people's stories. So that prompted me to share mine, because it after it had happened, I told my mother I never wanted to talk about it again. And as I was telling my brother about this, she brought it up, and I was like, oh, yeah, thank you for reminding me about that. And so I decided to share.
Before we get to that, because I would love to dive into it, because the context that I think you get when you're talking about it and interacting with it is definitely something. It's a really rich, kind of deep context. I mean, the fact that the detail that you said about felt like someone was really grabbing you and holding you. It's like, whoa, you can read the post, and that's one thing, but to kind of really get it, that's something else. But was that story like your first sort of experience?
First one that I remember, yes.
Gotcha. Okay, understood.
I was on a trip to Italy. I had saved up my money doing odd jobs during the summer. And it was a studies abroad trip where we would hit all of the major like destination points: Venice, Rome, Florence, Milan, everything. So we had just gotten back from Cinque Terre, which is the 5 Isles of southern Italy, and we were going for a couple hours on the bus. We got a flat. We had to change it. This was like very country kind of road, so all you could see for miles and miles was just wheat fields. So they were like, all right, we got to go to the nearest city and change it to a new tire, go to a real mechanic. So we went. We were only going to stay there one night anyway, so I didn't think that it was super important to take pictures or really do anything in this small town, because it was small. It was on top of a hill. So when we went into the town, we got situated on this hotel. It was a very, like a lot of floors, like it was a very tall building. But right away when you walk inside, you can tell it was repurposed for something else, because you would see, old like doors closed off, sealed off with paint, and just like windows, like where they serve the food in restaurants. Things like that. So there was just a lot of like architectural things that didn't make sense. So we went in, we checked in. Everybody had their roommates. My roommate was Penny. She super great, one of my good friends. And we got up. The hallway to get up to our room was really, really tight and narrow. It was like a winding staircase, just walls. So we go up to our floor. We go to our room. And it's a really nice, quaint room. It's very like homely, like it's not, an industrial or a really big hotel. It's like a mom and pop, like a bed and breakfast.
Right.
So we go in, and because we're only staying for 1 hour or 1 day, I'm sorry, in this town, our teachers didn't allow us to explore the city or the village. We just had to stay in our rooms, or we could go down to the concierge and fight over the ancient brick computer to get onto Facebook. I think this was like 2008 or 9. No.
Okay.
This was 2010.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
2010, I'm sorry, 2010, we would probably be talking, is that iPhone era at that time? Or maybe...
Yes, like the third or fourth.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like brick phones.
Right. Okay.
And I still had a Razor, like a flip phone. So.
Understood. Okay.
So we went into our room, we unpacked. Penny and I aren't really feeling like doing much, so we're trying to watch TV. We don't get service. No, none of us get service here. And even then, there are very few of us that could afford international service at the time, because this is the time where they're charging for text messages, picture messages. So a lot of us were using the hotel phones to call home and just using our like cell phones to take pictures or, videos. We're looking around, and I don't remember if it was Penny or myself that noticed it, but we see this like little door that's like slanted off to the side. It's sealed off with paint, and curiosity gets the better of us. And I'm like 14, 15. I'm an asshole. So I don't believe in ghosts. I'm rebellious. I'm like, oh yeah, let me open up this, or let me pull back the dresser and see what's behind this door, magical door. So we break the seal with the paint. It took us a while. And when we open the door, it's like really dark in that room. And we're kind of creeped out. Not enough to get out of there, right? Because we're nosy. But just creeped out enough to cautiously enter the room. And the door is like 3 to 4 feet tall. It's very small. And Penny is like 6 foot. So I kind of get in there, and then she crawls in there, and we're using our phones. I think it was her phone that had the better flashlight. So she's like, I think there's a light over there. You gotta yank it. So I yank it, and there's like a little hospital, like 50s hospital gurney bed in the room a little bit further back. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. This is the only thing in the room. There's no windows. There's nothing. It's just
how big would you say the room is that you went into?
It was about 4 to 4.5 feet high, and about 5 feet long. No, 5 to 7 feet long. It was very like rectangular, very long. So even though it was long, it was kind of like a hallway almost.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we turn it on, we see the gurney, and immediately Penny's like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is from, 1950s or something like that. We should take a picture. You should take a picture in it. You should get on it. Because I'm the short one. I would have fit on it. She's too tall for that. So
it's nice how that worked out, huh?
Right. And I said, oh yeah. Oh, totally. This is so fun. Like, I can't wait till we tell the other girls on the trip. So I get in, and she starts strapping me. Not super tight, but just enough to where it like looks like I'm strapped in. And then she steps all the way back to the door, and she pulls out her phone, and she's about to take that picture when I felt like this weird feeling in my stomach, like the gut feeling that I was telling you about, where something just dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And I started feeling really, really cold. And this was like a warm mid-70s day. Like we were wearing shorts and tank tops out there. So, and this room, it didn't make sense for the room to be this freaking cold. So right before she was able to take the picture, or if she took the picture, I never asked her, because we swore, we made a pact to never talk about this again.
Okay.
I felt everything go ice cold, but I couldn't breathe. I'm like gasping to try to say something to her that maybe, I changed my mind. This isn't a good idea. And then I just I'm like jerked violently on the bed and then pushed towards her. Not enough to where I hit her, but close enough where I'm just kind of like rolling slowly. And the whole time I'm like struggling to get out of the cuffs, and I get out of the cuffs, and she helps me get out of the cuffs, and we get the hell out of there. And she's crawling at this point because she can't even run, but she's too short to get out of the door. And I take one look back, and we left the light on. And I'm just like, no, I'm not going to go turn that light back off. So we run out, we close the door, we slam it with the wardrobe. We're not talking about it. We're kind of just in disbelief. Oh. She's like, did you see? And I was like, yeah, I felt it. I didn't see it. I felt it. So the rest of the time we decided to turn on the TV and try to distract ourselves because we were really, really scared. Like I was like white and sweating, and she was like really pale and sweating. And for the next couple of hours, every now and then when like the commercials would a little bit die down before the next show or whatever news report would come on TV, we would hear just footsteps. We would hear that gurney slamming against the door. Wow. Like over and over again for hours. It died down for a couple hours, but then it would start back up. Like as soon as it was like 9 to midnight, it started again like full force. And I said, screw this. I'm not going to get sleep, and I'm not going to sleep here. And we have a bunch of friends in the other room because our room was the smallest. So it was just us two, but the other room with the other girls was like 5 or 6 of them. So
wow. Okay. So y'all were hearing this, you put the wardrobe back against the door and you were hearing footsteps and the gurney bumping, slamming against the door for sounds like hours after, like into the night, right? Yeah. And every time it slammed, we just looked at each other and pretended like we didn't hear it and just turned the volume up on the TV until like we had to get to sleep. So at that moment, I said, I'm going to just kind of grab a small overnight bag with, my PJs and whatever. And I'm going to shimmy off this damn balcony and I'll break a leg before I sleep in this room. So we opened the door or the window, and it was kind of a long window, but it didn't have a real balcony. It was just like these little fake rails. And right. It was all an indoor patio. So it was like we were on the 4th floor, and it was just chairs and patio chairs all downstairs. So I was like, all right, there's a real chance I'll break my leg, but let's do it. So yeah. I shimmied over. She shimmied behind me. We started slamming on our friend's window, like, you gotta let us in. You gotta let us in. And they're like, what in the world are you guys doing up this late? And they wanted to know why didn't you just break the seal on your door? Because they sealed it with tape, and if you open the door and the tape is broken, you get in trouble. They said, well, why don't you just break the seal and tell the teachers? And I said, I don't think anybody's gonna believe us, and I don't think you guys either. And I had to tell them what happened because Penny, she's been very like non-verbal this whole time. She's not saying much. We tell them what happened. And we slept on the floor, and the teacher heard us, all talking and getting really like spooked. And she opens the door and she said, what's going on here? So she's like, why aren't you in your rooms? How did you get in here and not break the seal? I'm shocked. And I told her, well, I shimmied off a damn balcony. Like I wasn't gonna stay there. So I told her, I said, there's a ghost in that room. And she said, there's no such thing as ghosts. Like, what are you talking about? You're just trying to get out of this. And she was like very non-believer. I said, it's okay. I said, you don't have to believe me. But if you send me home on that first flight tomorrow, I will talk to the student board. And I will go back and get pictures and video, all the proof that I need, because there's no way that you're punishing me for this. So I said, go in there. I said, I dare you to go in there. And I don't know why she went in there, but she did. She went in there. I don't think she lasted more than 2 minutes because she heard something and she was like
kind of just shocked. I don't know her face. I couldn't even read her expression. Her face was really like, I don't know what I just heard or saw. And all she said was like, all right, you're allowed to sleep here. Bring your mattresses from your other room and you can sleep with the other girls. So my friend Penny and I went back to our rooms with our teacher, and then we picked up our just the bare mattress and we brought it to the other room, and then we went to sleep in the other room, and that was that.
Wow. When you went back for that brief moment to get the mattresses, were you hearing anything in that moment, or was it kind of in a lull at that point?
No, I mean, this is the thing, is that when those noises were very, very thought out, because we would only hear them when there was a small moment of silence. So Penny and I kind of tried to keep the noise going by talking to each other while grabbing our mattresses. And as soon as we were about to close the door to the room, that's when we started hearing it again, because, you know, the silence outside had started dwindling down.
So the rest of the trip, how did that kind of affect everything after, you know, the morning after, or was there any discussion about it or at all, or what did that look like?
We tried to keep it to a minimal. I know that the other girls next day started talking about it with the men of the group. They didn't believe us. They were like, okay, whatever. Chalked it off as another ghost story. But Penny and I got a lot closer after that, and we never talked about it again. And every time that we were, you know, in a new hotel, we both made sure to clear the room and make sure that we didn't see anything fishy before we settled in and unpacked.
Yeah, I don't think I, yeah, that's cool.
Sorry.
That's okay. So, just curious, I mean, cause again, I've never had anything happen to me like this. So, I mean, did it take kind of some time? You know, because obviously at the time it's let's just say it's traumatic, right? It's a traumatic experience and nobody understands. So you probably not talking about it because it's like, well, nobody's going to believe me anyway, unless they go see it, like the teacher, and then it's like, well, she knows. Did time passing kind of make it a little easier to talk about, or what's that kind of been like for you?
Yes, I specifically called my mom, I think at the next hotel that we stayed at, and I told her the whole story. And that's when she started telling me her ghost stories. And I started learning more about that. And she said, here's a bunch of haunted places that you can look up in different countries. She urged me to not like keep it in, I guess. But I had never met anyone else in my life besides my mom that had gone through anything like this. When I lived in the South, I had friends that wanted to go camping in the North Carolina woods. I said no, because I know that the woods over there are a lot different than West Coast. It's super easy to get lost over there, and yeah,
probably a good call.
Yeah,
probably. So a good call.
I just decided to not tell anybody unless I trusted them. Sure. Because I don't need that judgment. But also, since it's such a violent experience, I would say, because it's kind of in your face, I don't think many people would believe me, and that's okay if they don't. I invite people to be skeptics. That's fine. That's what the world's about. We have to have different opinions, but I don't want people to do what I did, and because I was very disrespectful to whatever spirit was living there. I should have taken that gut feeling and walked away. I urge people to do their research and to safely attempt to make contact with whatever entities that they believe are out there. But if you're disrespectful, there are things that can follow you home. I've heard. I think time passing has made me more aware and more mature about it.
Were there any other kind of experiences you had after this that you're willing to share, that you kind of saw after this, that, since having that experience, you were able to say, oh, okay, now I can kind of see or hear or perceive kind of what's happening afterwards?
I have not. For some reason, okay. I am like you. I don't see it unless it's explicitly in my face. My brother's always been sensitive to it. He once saw a girl had gotten hit by a train near where we used to live, and I think about a few months after, he had his headphones in and he was about to walk in the way of the train, and he felt this cold hand grab him, and when he looked, it was a girl. And he didn't think of it at anything at first, but when he looked for her after, she was gone. So he's always been sensitive to that. I haven't. I've never seen it, but I also don't go looking for it.
Sure.
My boyfriend wants to go explore cemeteries and things like that, and I'm willing to explore, but just more with a more calm presence and less chaotic energy.
Special thanks to Winnie, our new friend of the show, for coming on and sharing her experiences with us. If you like what you saw and you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave us a comment. Love to hear from you. Stick around for more episodes, more clips, more documentaries, lots of fun things coming on the horizon. Till next time.